Hello, and welcome to Socially Holistic Podcast. Socially Holistic helps coaches and holistic entrepreneurs and women in heart-centered businesses make sense of social media so they can build their own online network and get more clients. As a heart-centered business owner, you do amazing work. Holly's mission in life is to help you help more people. Help us help more women in business with a 5-star review of this podcast. Please leave one today over at iTunes. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more heart-centered businesses will be successful. Thank you.
Before we get into this week's episode, I'm beyond thrilled to tell you that the Socially Holistic Podcast has its first ever sponsor. I'm especially excited because our sponsor for the month of January is the fabulous Tanya Gardner from the very first episode of the Socially Holistic Podcast. I absolutely love the work that Tanya does, and I'm so happy that she's our first sponsor. If you're worried that your webpage copy isn't quite as clear and powerful as you'd like it to be, Tanya from Crystal Clarity Copywriting has a free gift for you. Make Your Webpage Crystal Clear is a carefully chosen collection of 12 simple, easy-to-implement tips. Each tip is designed to stop you making some of the most common mistakes that drive readers away from your website. Get the Make Your Webpage Crystal Clear guide completely free today by going to bit.ly/clear web page. That's bit.ly.com/clear web page. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the Socially Holistic Podcast, episode 27. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's very special guest, Celestine Chua from Personal Excellence. Celestine is a blogger, life coach, and the founder of Personal Excellence. So welcome, Celestine.
Hi, Holly. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm just so impressed with how you've built this business around this massive blog following in such a short period of time. I was reading the other day on your blog that you've got over 1 million page views every month, and you've achieved this in less than 3 years. I'm so impressed with what you've done and how you've grown it.
Thank you so much. It's been a long journey, very eventful journey, and I'm very excited to share with the listeners today.
Excellent. And I've been following your blog for, I think it's been since about 2010, and so I've seen it grow over the years, but I haven't seen it from the very beginning, so it's just so exciting to see what you've done with it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, because I seem to remember that you've got a corporate background.
Definitely. Sure. Well, I was actually from the brand management field, marketing. I studied marketing when I was in university, and I graduated in 2006, so that's about 7 years ago. And then after that, I joined P&G, Procter & Gamble, which is a leading brand management conglomerate around the world. And I was inside for 2 years learning the best practices, really just growing and developing myself. But in 2008, I thought it was time for me to quit because my passion in life is really to grow and to help people to grow. And while I was doing that in my company, it wasn't really 100% the message, like just personal development and helping people to grow. So then in September 2008, right smack at the start of the financial crisis, I quit my job and then I started my personal development business right from scratch. So at that time, everyone was like, no, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you quitting this like well-paying job and all this stuff? But really, no one was in support of my decision, but I knew I had to do what I have to do. And even my personal mentor at that time in my company, he also said that I think you're just new and you don't know what is best for you. Like you should just stay in the company for a few more years and then decide what you want. And my best friend was saying like, oh, this is just a phase, you'll get over it. And another good friend asked me, are you crazy? But I really knew that this is what I have to do. So then I did it, started from scratch. And at that point, my thinking was that sure, I can still be in a corporate world, work for a few more years, and then decide what I want to do or be in a better position to start what I want to do because I knew personal development is what I wanted to do. But then I thought, hey, if I start right now, and even if I were to make little progress in the next 5 years, that little progress would still be more than if I started 5 years later. Mm-hmm. So that was really, for me, the key to quit then. And fast forward to now, it's been 5 years. Since then, I've developed my blog, personalexcellence.co, built my own coaching practice, and been doing speaking training. And yeah, it's been really an eventful journey.
Sounds very, very exciting. So how has your business developed since from the time that you started it until now? Because 5 years is a short period of time, relatively speaking, but you've done so much in that time.
Thank you so much. Well, I would say right after I quit, then I took a couple of months to really create a crystallized plan on how I want to create my business. So what I thought was I will start my blog, because I felt that with blogging, there's absolutely no barriers towards accessing the rest of the world out there. There's no geographical boundaries, and I can reach anybody I want, like with an international audience. So in December 2008, that's about like 3 months after I quit, I then started my blog. And then from there, I started coaching. I also started giving speeches. But really, I was always focusing on the blog, because I knew that if I really want to build a scalable business, blogging is the way to go, and my internet presence is the way to go. Because with coaching, which I still do nowadays, I can only be reaching out to one person at a time. Okay, with speaking, I can be speaking to 50 people at one time. But with blogging, I can be writing one article and reaching to hundreds of thousands of people at one go. So that was instantly the key focus area for me. And then over time, my blog just started gaining traction, word of mouth, building traffic. People started sharing the material that I have with other people. Then in 3 years after that, which was what you're referring to, at the 3-year mark, I started to receive over 1 million page views a month. And then personalexcellence.co, that was when I also switched to this domain. Before that, I was using some other domains. And since then, I guess in my third to fourth year, I started transiting to a passive income business model. So in the beginning, like the first 2-3 years of my business, I was focused on coaching, one-on-one coaching, and speaking as my revenue source, which I felt was necessary to help me build the credibility and my expertise. But then I know that my end goal is to reach out to 7 billion people in the world. So if I want to achieve that end goal, I have to make my business passive income and scalable. So then I started to scale down on my coaching, my speaking, and focus more on building my blog platform. So my business, my personal development business today, the focus is really on personalexcellence.co with all the articles, I have video tutorials, interviews, podcasts, manifestos, inspirational quotes, and so on. And then I do my coaching and speaking as well.
And on your website, you say that 92% of your income is passive income at this point.
Yes, over 90% of my income is passive income. So my time is not tied to my income. And instead, while my income is coming in, because I've already set up those passive income streams, which I talk about in my passive income systems course, I can be using my time to do the high value work that I want to do, helping people to grow, writing new articles, creating video tutorials, video interviews, and so on.
So at this point, most of your time in your business is spent creating more content and building your blog.
Exactly. And also any new business opportunities. For example, currently I'm working with Dove on the camera confidence campaign. So I'm like leading the workshop for them, also giving them tips on their Facebook fan page. So these are the new projects that I'm taking on as well. So if I am busy just doing my one-to-one coaching and holding workshops with just for income, I wouldn't have had time to embark on these new opportunities.
I think that's such an important point. And I think that's something that so many coaches don't get, because they've gotten into coaching because they want to help people and they want to make a big difference in the world, but yet they find themselves getting stuck in that one-to-one coaching and they don't know how to move on from that so that they can help more people.
Sure, I hear you. I mean, in my first 2 years, especially my first year, I had a waiting list for my one-to-one coaching even because there were just so many. And really, you can be working your butt off, but there's really so many people you can be working with on a one-to-one basis. So I had a maximum of 8 clients in every 1 month, and every client I'll be meeting at least once a week. So, and I realized that was my maximum capacity if I work my butt off. And you're not even talking about like the prep work that happens before the coaching and after that the follow-up. So there's really a lot more than that. And even with the 8 clients packing my schedule full, then I had no time to do other things. So I knew that after 1 year of doing that I really have to create something more sustainable. And that's when I started making it more passive income, my business model. I started identifying, like for life coaching, I realized that I can develop a life coaching program, a product, which now is the 30 Days to Live a Better Life program on my site. That would then be the product version of my coaching model. So people, can just buy this program and administer the coaching, and it's just like I'm with them working through it. So then I identify like these ways to productize my active income streams, as well as my live courses. I turn them into products as well, which a lot of them can be found on my courses page on my website. So a lot of these things help me to transit to the passive income business model.
I like that. You took the basic coaching model that you were using in your one-to-one client work and you transformed that into a course.
Exactly.
I think that so many coaches feel like, oh no, I can't take myself out of the process. It must be me. And I think that's fantastic that you found the way to do that and really scaled your business based on that transition.
Totally. I hear you, and I totally agree with what you're saying, in that, yes, there are a lot of people who actually always say that, no, my income, I have to be in there. Like my business, if I'm not there, then it cannot be going. Like all these things, it cannot be productized. It cannot be turned into a passive income business model. But the question to ask yourself is that, okay, for example, for me, my passion is to help people to grow, and I want this to continue on even after I die. So let's say I'm totally willing to be in the business now and doing everything, but I have to think about, okay, what if one day when I pass on, all this have to continue? So you have to at some point think about, how can you remove yourself from the business? Okay, you have to ask yourself this question, which I ask all my passive income participants, is that if you don't show up for work today, will the income still come in? And if the income cannot come in because you're not at work, that means essentially you are a cog in your business. Okay, you are a cog, and if you're a cog, you are a clog as well. You're clogging up your business, because if you are not there, it cannot run. So you have to think of a way for your business to be able to run and basically turn its wheels even with you not around. And there is always a way to productize anything, even something like one-to-one coaching, like as I've done. There's always a way to productize and make it passive income based. It's just about finding how to do that.
And you've got a number of different courses that you're offering on your website now. I think there's about 8 of them. Could you tell us a little bit about those?
Sure. A lot of my courses, they tackle on different areas of personal development. My key anchor products will be Live a Better Life in 30 Days program. That's a life transformation program with 30 days, 30 tasks, 1 task for each day. And through these simple tasks, the participants can embark on them in their own time and then watch as they life transform through those 30 days. And these 30 tasks I've identified from working with hundreds of different coaching clients, working with thousands of readers on my site to improve their life. And I realized these are the 30 essential tasks that really help set them off towards living a better life. Then the next most popular program is Be a Better Me in 30 Days program. That is actually the sister program to the Live a Better Life in 30 Days program. And that's a character transformation program. Same thing, 30 days, 30 tasks, all focused on character transformation, discovering your ideal self, weeding out your negative traits, developing your ideal traits, and so on. And then the rest of the courses on my courses section would be tackling on very specific areas of personal development, which I sort of touch on my blog, but these courses are really deep dives, like holistic solutions towards helping you address that area. So there's one on the anti-procrastination course on overcoming procrastination. There's an emotional eating course on overcoming emotional eating. I myself went through that in the past. There's a passive income system course. There's also a blogging success program on how to build that 1 million page view blog, and so on. Yep.
Excellent. I love how you've created these online courses, but they're so practical. It's not just the theory. It's not like self-help books that you get them and they're so motivating and they feel fantastic when you read them, but then they don't give you anything concrete to do, and so you're not making the changes.
These are all totally focused on practical hands-on steps, because every of this course I've created, I'm not just creating them because people ask for them. I created them because I'm passionate about the topics, and I'm passionate about them because I have personally went through them before, like emotional eating. I spent my whole life just stress eating, emotional eating, because I grew up in this culture where my parents use food as a source of love. So it's like a symbol of love in the family. And I was totally engulfed in this belief system that food is love without even knowing it. And it was only several years ago that I broke past it. And if at one point in my past I had something like this to help me, like I would have been so grateful. So then I created this program. One of the programs that I'm thinking of creating next is like a soulmate journey, because as ladies ourselves, I'm sure some of us may have had obstacles in our love journey, like even for any of us singles out there. And I myself, I've been single pretty much whole my life, and I found the love of my life earlier this year. And it wasn't just like a binary, yes, I found my soulmate or yes, I didn't, but it was through years of self-development and really discovering myself. So I'm really just excited to share my own lessons along the way. So all of these courses, they're really built from the heart, like just my own personal experiences and realizing like what is it that helped me to break past and achieve that desired outcome in the end.
I think that's a true kind of mentoring kind of course. It's like, I had this problem, I've worked through this is how I did it, and this is how you can help yourself do the same.
Definitely. And I feel the mark of many successful businesses today is that businesses now is not just about creating this face. It's not about just hiding behind a brand or image, but it's really putting yourself out there, being authentic, being yourself, and letting people identify with you. I feel that that is really truly the mark of what distinguishes business nowadays, especially with social media. There's more opportunities for you to be personal with your audience today.
I think that's so important what you say. I do social media training for coaches and holistic practitioners, and one of the first things that I do when I work with them is help them get clear on who they are and why they want to help people and how they help people and what makes them different from other people. And that's one thing that so many people struggle with, is just getting clear on what it is that makes them different.
That's excellent that you help other women do that, because I realize that a lot of times our business identity and our success is really a function of our own self-awareness, and that the more clear we are of ourselves and our identity, the faster our businesses can grow. I realize that, obviously, if I were to start now from scratch in the same position, I would definitely have grown much faster, even though some might have said that my growth was fast, but I would definitely have grown much faster because now I'm so much clearer of who I am than, say, 5 years ago. Even though I was clear of what I wanted to do, there was still a couple of years when I was really finding my voice on my blog. But now I'm really clear, like, okay, who I am, what I want to write about, and things like that.
I think that is so important, what you said about how the more clear on who you are, the more successful you'll be in business and the faster you can grow your business.
Definitely.
And what would you say? Would you say that it was your top kind of, what made you stand out in your blog? Because I know that on your blog over the years, you've shared so many personal stories. I remember a couple of years ago when you went through the 20-day fast, and I was following you on every day of the fast, and it was just, couldn't wait to see what was happening.
Right, yeah, a lot of people got really excited about the fasting experiment. Well, in case anyone is wondering, in about 2011, I did this fasting experiment because I read about fasting online, and I thought, for myself, I always believe in trying something out before you declare or write it off. So I would have thought, like in the past, if you don't eat for one day, you'll just die. And I found out online that apparently this wouldn't happen. So I decided to just try it out for myself after doing extensive research on my own. So anyone who's interested, you can read about it on my blog. Anyway, so I embarked on this 21-day fast, not eating anything, just drinking plain water. And I survived to tell the tale. So that's what Holy is really talking about. But to your question on what really sets me apart, I would say just not being afraid to be vulnerable, really putting myself out there, just sharing my own personal pains, difficulties in life. Like I write very openly on my blog, like say my struggles with emotional eating in the past, my struggles with my own body image, like as females, all of us, I'm sure at some point, because of how media inundates us with this ideal images of beauty that we have to live up to, we probably at some point would have faced some difficulties or inferiorities on like body image. So I have personally gone through that, like issues with my body image, issues with my own femininity, issues with beauty even. A lot of these topics, or even singlehood, like being single in the past, and how a lot of times society views singlehood as a disease, and especially for females. Like for males, if you are single, like you'll be seen like as a cool bachelor. But like for females, if you are single, people are like, oh, what's wrong with her? Like, yeah, that kind of like viewpoint. So I tackle a lot of that on my blog, and I guess because of that, my readers can relate to me, and they come to my site to read because they feel like this level of openness and this sharing connectivity, like everyone is in a family and in this together. Whereas maybe for other places, they feel like the person might have been projecting himself or herself as an expert, which is not wrong, but it becomes like a facade, and they find it hard to relate. So I would say maybe not being afraid to be vulnerable and just show my own personal flaws and difficulties is what helps my audience to connect with me.
I think that's so important, because there's so many blogs that I read where it's like, as you said, people kind of present themselves as an expert, but in a very detached way. Like it's all very informational, and there's useful stuff there, but there's nothing from the heart.
Right.
And you just don't get that connection with them.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm realizing for myself, because literally my business is powered by my blog. So every day I'm learning new things. I'm discovering, okay, how can I set myself further apart, or how can I push forth in what I'm doing in my arena? And I realized that, let's say like 10 years ago or like 5 years ago, okay, perhaps we always say here, this thing, content is king, isn't it? And so what defines great content? I realize this definition is constantly evolving. Maybe those hard content, like 10 tips, 20 tips, 30 tips to XYZ things might have been great like 10 years ago. But now, like everyone and their grandmother can write a blog. So I'm realizing like the web is saturated with things like that, with great content like this. So then if you really truly want to get one step ahead, it's really about now putting yourself out there and allowing others to relate to you, because everyone is flooded with hardcore theoretical information. What I think people are really looking for is a connection and this personal touch, which can only come true if you yourself, you're not afraid to put yourself out there.
I think that's so important. What would you say would be your other top tips for how to build a successful business around your blog?
Sure. I would say, so like we were talking about just now, putting your personal identity up front. I would say second thing would be just definitely knowing your identity. So we talk about like your self-awareness. So knowing like, okay, who is the audience that you want to reach out to? What are the topics that you want to write on? And what is the message you want to drive? Because I guess for some blogs, they might become very scattered in their focus. And as a result, they might attract just very scattered audience. But if you're very pinpointed, very sharp on like who is the audience you want to target, even with a niche audience, this niche audience, it can be very powerful. And I think specificity will be very important rather than just writing something that's generic. Like for example, a food, say a diet, a vegan blog. Okay, that in itself is a very sharp focus as opposed to just a generic food blog. Yeah, so I think being clear on your identity and what is the message you want to drive, that's definitely very important. I think the third point would be just being clear on your opinions and not being afraid to write about that. I talk about that as one of the key drivers in key important points in my own blogging course. And I realized that it's just so important to just not be afraid of being opinionated. Like all of us have our own opinions. And I think what is really different between everyone is that some people are afraid to put their opinion, some are not. And if you want to build a connection, you really have to just stand true to your opinion and not be afraid of criticism. I think a lot of people, they are afraid of criticism and they are afraid to put their opinions. But I'm starting to learn for myself that it's not about being opinionated for the sake of being opinionated, but if you have an opinion, don't be afraid to share it, especially if it's in line with your own message. And whatever negative comments that come along your way, know that actually, if you're getting negative comments, it's a good thing. It means that you're growing, you're reaching out to new people. Like if you look at like top great female leaders, Lady Gaga, Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, all of them get negative comments all the time. And that really just symbolizes how successful they are. Like it's because they're so great and they're so prominent and well known that people bother to flame them. So you know that if you're really starting to get negative comments, unconstructive criticism, flaming, that's a good sign. That it means that you are now growing bigger and bigger and people are really bothering to just like post negative comments. Like even for myself, I get them, and I'm just entering this stage where I'm just learning not to be bothered by them at all.
And I think the important thing also is that when you get those negative comments, it's because you're being true to your message and you're not watering yourself down to try to make yourself appealable to the entire world. And when you are true to your message, you will get those negative comments because you're not for everyone.
Definitely. You know, I've read a couple of blogs before where like the blogger, the person wrote about some opinion which I totally didn't agree with. And for me, I would have felt that person was being out of the line. But one thing that was great was the person was being true to that opinion. And at those points, I thought that, wow, this is the jump the shark moment. This person's blog would totally die after that. And it didn't. Like after that, the person continued to grow bigger. Like there was really this one comment which a lot of people didn't agree. But that person stayed true to the message and posted like more things that really align with the message, and the person's presence grew. So this just tells you that if you think that there's one opinion that's going to kill your business, really, unless it really goes down against some fundamental life, universal human values, chances are it's not. Yeah. I think that's so important. I think if you are a coach and if you are in a heart-centered business and you're coming from the heart when you write these controversial blog posts, then you really can't go wrong because you're doing it, from a place of love. Exactly. As long as you're driven, coming from the good intention, then nothing can really go wrong.
Yes. I think that's so important because so many people that I talk to are so fearful of putting themselves out there. But really, what's the worst that can happen? It's just a comment on your blog or on your Twitter feed or something. I mean, it's not tragic.
Exactly. I mean, to that note, this actually brings to mind this blog post I wrote earlier this year, and it was post about how I retired at the age of 28. I'm 29 now, and how you can do the same too. So then most of the comments were positive, but then there were a few like negative comments saying, "Wow, Celeste, you look like you're just showing off about your life and blah blah and stuff like that." And I guess it's the same thing. It's like, at that point maybe some people would have thought, "Wow, you have changed, like your personality is totally different and stuff like that." But really, that post was written from the heart. It was just sharing like, I'm now running a passive business model, and it's something that you should start thinking for yourself, like say even no matter where you are, whether you're in a corporate job or not, something that you should start thinking for yourself. So from the surface, maybe some people take it negatively, some people don't take it positively, but as long as whatever you're writing is coming from the heart and a good place, then you really can't go wrong.
I think that's so important. And I think a lot of times some of those negative comments that we get are just because whatever it is that we're writing is bringing up stuff for other people, and it's just there's stuff that they need to work through.
Exactly.
So is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your business or how you've grown?
Let's see. I would say there were a couple of big roadblocks that I had to go through when I was starting my business, which, for those of you listening, if you're currently thinking of starting your own business, quitting your job, like these are probably things that you can think about working through. Well, one thing was I was starting in a field where I wasn't known. So I studied marketing before. I was in career in brand management. So I was definitely built with a lot of knowledge in brand management. So I just started out in this field, like personal development, where I had no prior experience in, especially except on my own personal basis. And definitely professionally, like I don't have any coaching certification. I had never done any counseling course or whatever it is before. But don't let this thing stop you. Like as long as you have the passion in what you're doing, these skills and expertise, they can be built. So there's this concept that I talk about a lot about on my blog, which is 10,000 hours to talent, which is something that Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote about in his own book Outliers, that if you look at all the leading people in their fields today, whoever they are, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Bill Gates, all of them, whatever talent they seem to have now actually have been built from their years of just studying the subject, doing it, and all of them amounting to at least 10,000 hours before they were able to get as good as where they are now. So even if you're starting in the field where you're totally new, but you have that love, that interest, just start off with that 1 hour, 2 hours, 100, 1,000 hours. Like in time, you will build to where you can be an expert. But at the end of the day, it's a journey, and don't write off your dreams just because supposedly you're not where you think you should be. Everyone starts from somewhere. The second roadblock was really making a name for myself in the field, especially in blogging where it's so saturated. And again, it's about taking the steps, just identifying like where you need to be, the vision, and then identifying the steps to reach there. As long as you just keep going, you will reach and get to where you want to be. So don't let all these things intimidate you. Just let your passion drive you forward.
I think that's so important. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's so easy for people to see women who have built these amazing businesses, and everything's fabulous, and you can just tell from their website. But you don't see the roadblocks, you don't see the challenges that they've had, and you don't see everything that they've learned along the way, because business is such a huge personal journey.
Definitely. I would say that for whatever people are doing, there are definitely a lot of roadblocks that people have to get through. So don't get too focused on this perfect image that you seem to see. There are always a lot of obstacles that you have to face. So just don't feel intimidated just because, you tend to compare yourself with what you see out there. And maybe you feel like, I'm not there right now, so I'm not going to be able to achieve that. But everyone starts from somewhere. So don't ever feel disappointed or feel discouraged. Just focus on your own journey and excelling in your own worth and your own power.
That's perfect advice. Thank you. So do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women in business who inspire you?
Sure. I wouldn't say that I have any mentors per se, but there are definitely female icons out there who really inspire me. So I actually mentioned a couple of names just now. The first is Ellen DeGeneres, how she embraces her real identity despite it not being widely accepted, like especially her being gay. So there was a point in the past, even today, where gays are just ostracized. People just view it negatively with discrimination, but she just came out as a gay and then let the world just took everything, just saw how the world reacted to that. And despite that, like despite the outlash at the point when she came out, she's so successful today. And I believe it is because she's so honest and true to herself that she is so successful. And I love how she's so down to earth despite being so successful. The second is Oprah Winfrey. She has this successful Oprah Winfrey Show, which I believe everyone knows, that had a 25-year run. And I love how she created this culture on a show where it's okay for people to just share their problems and talk about it openly. And I believe this openness is something we totally need in our culture today, where a lot of things seem like very idealized and just there's this veneer that seems to be in everything and all advertisements. And I love this whole confessional culture she just got going on in her show. Third is Tyra Banks. I love how Tyra Banks encourages people to embrace beauty, that it comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms, as opposed to, say, especially her being in the modeling industry. Like you would think a lot of models, they would just focus on this idealized image, but she really embraces women of all shapes, sizes, colors. So I think that's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So how can other women in business benefit from working with you? I see that you're running your blogging success program starting this month.
Exactly. It's actually starting this Sunday, and it's a blogging success course. I run about once a year, and I work with people to build their blogs, whether they're beginners or intermediate bloggers. What I share are key principles to take your blog to 1 million page views. So those principles will apply no matter where you are in your blogging phase. Even these principles will apply for me now. So I work with them to develop their blogs. Even for those who don't make it in time for the course itself, I have the product version, the blogging success program course, and that can be found at personalexcellence.co/courses. And you can just purchase the course and self-administer that in your own time. So that's definitely an option as well. I would say one-to-one coaching is also another way which a woman work with me as well. No matter where they are in their business, whether they are starting up, thinking about quitting their job, trying to find their direction, or looking into how to build their own business, online business or offline business, and building it to prominence. That's also something I work with them on establishing their identity, building up their business, identifying the steps to take their businesses to success. And as a woman myself, I understand that the barriers that many women face. I mean, I myself am in a field very dominated by males, like male speakers, trainers, coaches. And I know that we women, we can still break through using our own authentic identity. And I would say, like we said just now, focusing on your unique individual identity, bringing out your personal self rather than trying to typecast yourself or make yourself fit into a mold. Like you have the strength and what you do. And that's what I work with women to bring that out.
Excellent. Thank you. And you've also got that passive income course.
Exactly.
That would also be very, very useful to women in business.
Exactly. That's also another course that's on my courses page as well.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Would you like to share with us where people can find you online?
Sure. Personalexcellence.co, that will be my personal development blog with hundreds of articles on personal growth and tons of resources, podcasts, web lectures, manifestos, and so on. So that's my key domain where my readers gather. I have about over 100,000 of readers every month. The second will be Celes.tv. It's actually also accessible from personalexcellence.co. And I do interviews with inspiring people and video tutorials to live your best life. So these two will be the best places to reach me. I have my Facebook page as well. That's facebook.com/Celestine Chua and twitter.com/Celestine Chua.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for joining us today. It was just so lovely to speak with you. And I think that so many women who listen to this are going to really, really benefit from hearing about your journey.
Thank you so much, Holly, for this great opportunity. And I hope everyone has benefited from this interview and look forward to connecting with you personally.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit sociallyholistic.com/SHP27 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you. If you're worried that your webpage copy isn't quite as clear and powerful as you'd like it to be, Tanya from Crystal Clarity Copywriting has a free gift for you. Make Your Webpage Crystal Clear is a carefully chosen collection of 12 simple, easy-to-implement tips. Each tip is designed to stop you making some of the most common mistakes that drive readers away from your website. Get the Make Your Webpage Crystal Clear guide completely free today by going to bit.ly.com/clear web page. That's bit.ly.com/clear web page. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Socially Holistic Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. Please help us help more women in business by giving us a 5-star review of this podcast. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more successful businesses there will be. So please leave a 5-star review today over at iTunes. Thank you.